Welcome to all of you. This is a wonderful day, and it's a wonderful day that for a whole variety of reasons, but particularly because we're dedicating the gymnasium today. On Monday, the new Wellness Center, they finally got the final pieces of safety equipment to be able to unlock that door. I think it was unlocked for about an hour before they had students in there. When we opened up the Fraser Gyms, which happened just before the end of the school year, when you're a college president, there are certain, I think in anything in life, there are moments that are like frozen, like snapshots, in your mind. And one of them was being in the Harvey Fraser Gym the first day it opened with the students. Not the scholar athletes who were there training for a game, but just a bunch of students. And they were playing pickup game of volleyball, and nobody had, the coaches made them take off their regular shoes, but they weren't out there in gym gear or anything. They were just goofing around before finals week, laughing, almost falling over with laughter, just playing volleyball with a bunch of friends. Which is exactly what the students wanted when they decided that they were going to work together and lead the way to say, we needed better wellness facilities here at the School of Mines. And it was before I arrived, but it was let's see, would have been 2010, Larry? Yes. 2010, when the student body said, okay, we're going to have a campaign on campus, we're going to take a vote. And the students voted to tax themselves $10 a credit hour to be able to bond, provide funds to have a bond to expand the gym, to get the wellness center going. And the neat thing to me about that is most of the students who said, all right, we're going to go ahead and vote for this and start taxing ourselves $10 an hour to do this, are not here on campus today. They graduated. They did this for somebody else. It was only the freshman class that would ever see this gymnasium opened as a class, but they did it anyway. And I think that shows something about the students that are attracted to be here and their commitment to do something for others. With that kind of student initiative, they raised $6.7 million, or the amount of money to be able to bond that. Well, this was more expensive than that as a building. We had several alumni and friends who came together and made major contributions to help make that possible. And then, I think it was probably Larry Simonton came up with the idea of, we don't have anything on campus here that's named for Harvey Fraser. Now, of all the presidents, and Dr. Gowan, you're here today, but I got to tell you, of all the presidents, the one I hear the most stories about is Harvey Fraser. And in fact, when I was named as president of the school, they said, she's a Service Academy graduate too. One of the first things that happened was an alumni came up to me and they said, are you going to be like Harvey Fraser? And I'm thinking, I don't know, this is my first day on campus, I don't even know where my office is, I'm clueless. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, oh, let me tell you, Dr. Wilson, he helped put the grass in on the quad, and whenever he'd see a student walking across the quad on the grass, he'd throw open the windows on his office, lean out and say, get your off my grass. And I said, well, I can tell you I'm not going to do that. But there are numerous other Harvey Fraser stories about how he cared about the students and how he impacted their lives. And the students who were the alumni who were here in that era came together, and there was a challenge match. And a number of alumni got together and said, we're going to try to name the gym after Harvey Fraser. And so we made the decision that if the foundation was able to raise $1 million, we would name this the Harvey Fraser Gymnasium. We began that effort with a huge boost from Larry and Linda Pearson in their challenge match. And that was, and Larry and Linda are here today. So there we go. Thank you for everything that you've done for this school. And within less than a year, the alumni of this school who revered Harvey Fraser were able to meet that goal and to raise $1 million. And Bill and Judy Brodsky made a gift of $50,000 in April of 2014 that brought us to $1 million. So thanks to all of you. But then it didn't stop there, because Bill and Judy said, they reached out back to Larry and Linda and Doug and Leah Beck and said, you know, we should do something more. What if there were a Harvey Fraser Scholarship? And then you make a choice whether you want it to be academic or athletic. But what if we had a challenge match for scholarships in the name of Harvey Fraser? Because those scholarships were an important part of what General Fraser wanted to do as well. And I got to tell you, as of 5:26 p.m. on June 30th, with a pledge from Dr. Michael and Mary Cook, we reached the $1 million goal for scholarships. And Larry pulled me aside as we came in here, and he said, Dr. Wilson, I want to let you know we've had another challenge match issued. Now that we've reached the $1 million goal, there's been another set of donations, another challenge match in the amount of $500,000. It's a challenge match. What it means is for every dollar that you give, these donors will match that. It's an opportunity to continue to provide scholarships for our athletes and for our scholars in the name of Harvey Fraser. This afternoon, I think you'll see some of the things. I've peeked behind the curtain of the Harvey Fraser's memorabilia, and I think you'll see something of this man and what he meant to the school and to the students who were here at the time. And I wanted to thank all of you for honoring him, for being part of the continuing legacy of excellence and being part of the team here at the School of Mines. It is my pleasure, and I don't think I've seen him walk in today. Is Randy here? Where's Randy? There you are. I'm sorry, I didn't see you on the way in. It's kind of a neat thing that Randy Parcell, who's been a wonderful leader among the alumni here at the School of Mines, was the Student Association president in 1966 when Harvey Fraser was named president of the School of Mines. I'm sure he has stories. Ladies and gentlemen, Randy Parcell.
Okay? Yep. All right. Thank you, President Wilson.
Can't hear you, Randy.
Okay.
Take it off.
Okay, how's that?
Yeah.
As President Wilson indicated, this celebration of the opportunity to have these gymnasiums dedicated to Dr. Fraser, as well as the memorabilia display that will be here, as well as the scholarships that have been developed, are the product of generosity of people such as Phil Rodkey, Larry Pearson, and others. Gene Pearson, for example. I apologize if I missed some other names of people who've been generous. And also the cooperation and the generosity of the Fraser family, Joan, Janet, and Harvey Jr. Thank you for that. But it took somebody to sort of be the trail driver on this effort, to coordinate all these efforts, and perhaps do a little prodding now and then. And you've heard his name mentioned, but I think it deserves further mentioning. That person is Larry Simonson over there. 50 years ago, the Board of Regents of South Dakota approved the establishment on the institution of a Department of Engineering. Very significant development for the school. But even more significant is the person they chose to be the Dean of Engineering, Dr. General Dean Harvey R. Fraser. He became a Dean of Engineering of this institution exactly 50 years ago this coming school year. More significantly, he was named president of the institution 1 year later. I had the honor and the privilege, upon his inauguration, of presenting this medal to him. It's a presidential medal, and I don't know if you've had the opportunity to see a painting of Dr. Fraser at the back of the room. You'll see the medal hanging from his chest. I don't know, could you perhaps hold that up? Is it holdable so people can see it? This is that medallion that was presented to him and I had the honor of presenting that to him. And I'd like to read you the inscription on the back of the medallion. This gift of the President's Medallion is to Dr. Harvey Reed Fraser upon the event, excuse me, the light's a little hard to read, from the student body of the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology upon the occasion of his inauguration as the 13th president of the college and this 30th day of October, 1966. One of my fondest memories of working with Dr. Fraser was the celebration of M-Day. It was his first M-Day as president of the university. And one of the traditions of the seniors, I don't know if they still do it, but we had what we called the, quote, senior float. And what that was is the seniors would find an old junker car, and we would write the names of the professors and administrators of the school on the car. And for $1, you could take a sledgehammer and pick any name you wanted. And nail whoever you wished. I'm sure the proceeds went to charity. Well, we had a student assembly before M-Day that year. This would have been my senior year, 1966. And Dr. Fraser was at the assembly sitting in front. And we were explaining the procedures for going up M Hill, but more importantly, the procedures for the senior float. And we explained that it was $1 if you wanted to slam any name. Dr. Fraser gets up in front and faces the student body and says, "My name is $5." It was a pleasure working with him, and an honor to work with him while I was a senior here, as I'm sure other students of that vintage will agree. We were fortunate, my wife Tracy and I were fortunate enough, as after Dr. Fraser retired, he actually retired to a facility, a home near us, about 15-20 minutes away from us. So we had the opportunity to have lunches, some dinners with him and his wife Jean, and it was always a pleasure to hear him talk about his time here at the School of Mines. And he spoke so fondly of the years he spent here as president and how much he enjoyed what he did. And he took pride in the accomplishments he made. And there's a video that Larry has obtained and that will be available for viewing that I think 1993 when he spoke. And you'll sense his pride in that tenure as president. And one particular enjoyable feature of getting together with President or Dr. Fraser for lunch was that he had a tradition, and it was before you go to lunch, we join him in his apartment, and ironically, there was a beverage called Harvey's Bristol Cream that he enjoyed sharing before we would go to lunch, and we enjoyed sharing that experience with him and sharing those lunches with him. Just as it was a privilege and an honor to present this medallion to Dr. Fraser upon the event of his inauguration, it's a privilege and an honor to share the experience with his family and to have this medallion displayed in his memorabilia case. And Larry, I'm going to give this to you for safekeeping and display, I believe. We'd also like to remind you that there is a beautiful painting at the back of an express train. Would somebody be able to hold that up? It's up for silent auction, proceeds of which will go to the athletic department. Right for the scholarship fund. And we encourage you to take a careful look at that. It's a beautiful painting, and urge you to write your name down with a big number. Thank you very much for attending this event, and please enjoy this weekend. Thank you.
I don't dare use the microphone in my hand because, like somebody you know, I tend to make some hand gestures now and then. My name is Harvey Fraser Jr., and we Frasers are really pleased to be in Rapid and at the School of Mines today. All three of Harvey's children are here, my two sisters and I, our spouses, several grandchildren, several great-grandchildren, even one grandchild's spouse, two of which, one grandchild and the spouse, are graduates of the School of Mines and former athletes of the School of Mines.
Have them stand up.
Have them stand up. Good idea. Eric? So these are fabulous gifts for the students of the School of Mines. It wouldn't have happened without Larry Simonson's leading the project, funding the project, cajoling a few people, and again, thanks, Larry. I have a hope that some of you will remember the cheer. Oh, Harvey. If you don't, you ask some people from that vintage and they'll explain what that was about. We had talked about it a little bit earlier. Now, my dad was very enthusiastic about sports. And you already heard that. Many of you know that firsthand. What I wonder is how many students have, maybe I'll put the question to Dr. Wilson, how many students have taken up the sport of squash, one of my dad's favorites? A sport which I was never able to beat him at. I could maybe win a game, but I couldn't win 2 out of 3. Unfortunately, I don't think it quite gained much energy here at the School of Mines, but other things did. Harvey, my dad, would walk around campus with his almost trademarked Stetson hat. You may remember the legitimate. This was his going native a little bit probably. Then he'd wave his hat and he'd say, "Hi, Mrs. Smith," and "Hi, Charlie," the guy raking leaves, and the other guy mowing the grass. And then he'd see Professor so-and-so, "Good morning, Professor." And then the next guy he'd say, "Good morning, Doctor." And I quizzed him later and I said, "How come you say good morning, Doctor," to some of the professors, and others it's Professor? And he explained he was emphasizing that this is now 50 years ago, that more and more of the professors be PhDs was the goal. Now, Larry didn't do this project by himself. Many of you in this room have been generous, and in fact, more than generous in supporting this initiative in lots of ways for the students of Mines. And I'd like to at least briefly introduce 2 of those. One of them, Bill Brodsky, was already introduced, and he'll be up here in just a minute. But I want to tell you about the day I met Bill Brodsky. As we were talking a moment ago, my dad had Bill come over for lunch where he was living, and I happened to be there, and the lunch was in a private dining room. And maybe I got on my shorts and my golf shirt, I'm not sure what it was, but he looked at me and he said, "Harvey, you don't understand. This is Bill Brodsky." Okay, I understood, and I certainly wore better clothes than those shorts. Charlie Chambers will also be up in a moment, and I suspect he has a few stories to share as well. So, thank you all for your generous donations to the School of Mines and in memory of my dad. Thank you.
I have a lot of stories about Dr. Hart, as we call him Dr. Hart. But I'd like to first off say something about the $10 that the students voted to pay for themselves, part of their tuition. When I was there, it was $6 an hour tuition, period. But one of the things people talk about all the things Dr. Hart did, but in the fall of '66, he became the Dean of Engineering here, but he insisted on teaching the class, and it was thermodynamics. Dr. Hart showed up and came in. We heard him stomping up he was late and never late, and he come up the hallway and he came in, introduced himself. So we were expecting not Dr. Stentz, the department head, but we never knew who this guy was. He came in, and the amazing thing, he everybody's history, everything about it. Some of the things he taught, and he was an amazing teacher. That's what I want to say. He was an amazing teacher. Some of the stories from that class, Wayne back there became department head, and he was reading the book there, and Dr. Hart, I thought it was a race of it. Wayne corrected me this morning. It was chalk. He just walked people to chalk. But then he walked Bill a few times with the eraser. But Bill had a tendency to wear just white T-shirts to school. And he came in there and he said, "Brodsky, if I can wear a suit and tie, you can at least wear a shirt." But the thing about Dr. Hart, went a few years of school, he went through grade school, high school, he was the most amazing teacher I ever had. Bill.
I think so far everybody's stolen part of my speech, so I'm down to about this much left that I was going to give, and I'm sure you'll all applaud that at this point. But I'm not sure the best way to do that. There's so many people that got behind this thing, and I got to say, Larry, when you first came at us with the idea that we were going to be able to put this together, I had a couple of doubts. You see a lot of these types of projects coming forward, but more often than not, you see a lot of times when we're not able to build and control the support to see it all the way through to completion. And I really want to congratulate you again and everybody that participated with you bringing this about for doing such an outstanding job. So let's give him one more round. And I've already had a chance to experience a little bit some of the benefits, particularly of the scholarship program. One of Coach Collins' athletes, Trent McKinney, is a quarterback for the Hard Rockers, and I got a letter from him saying that he was coming to Missoula, Montana, and some of you are familiar with him, may know that he started with the Grizzlies up there, and he was there for a year or so, and then came down here. But that young man sent me a letter that was just absolutely amazing, laying out his goals and objectives in life. It wasn't all about football, Coach. He covered a lot of other things. But when you see that, and he's one of the first recipients of the athletic scholarship, you really want to stand up and pound your chest and say, hey, we're moving in the right direction. This is what we need, the kind of young people we need to be a part of our programs, and he's the kind of person that's going to make everybody very proud, I think, in this football season, not only with his athletic capabilities, but certainly with the qualities that he brings as a human being and a future contributor to society. So the program is working already, and we're just barely getting started. I think most of us, probably everybody in this room, can say that they've certainly had mentors in life that made a difference to you. Probably a lot of them, myself included. I had a lot of people that went through life taking a step forward and dragging Bill. And I've been very, very well rewarded for the efforts that they put in to try to educate me and bring me along. But I can honestly tell you that there's one that really stands out, kind of head and shoulders above all the rest, and that's Dr. Hart. And as you know, he took a pretty strong interest in athletics, and I did real good in just about everything but the academic side of it. I had things going pretty well in a lot of different areas. But so when it comes down to the football field one night, and he drags me out of the scrimmage that we had going, takes me over beside, what was the big gray building down there beside the training field? Anybody remember what that building is called now?
Maintenance building.
Maintenance building. Well, he and I parked against the maintenance building. And for about 45 minutes, I had an amazing discussion with Dr. Fraser. And he kind of started it off and got my attention. He says, Brodsky, he says, you know, I know you love to play football and you got a lot of respect for the team and everything that was going on, but he said, you know, I hate to tell you this, but at the rate you're going, he says, I'm a little worried about you. He says, first of all, you play pretty good football, he says, but you're not going to be playing on Sundays. And he says, at the rate you're going here, you're not going to graduate from the School of Mines. So I just want to know what in the hell you're going to do with the rest of your life. And so then he proceeded for most of the next 40 minutes. This was a very one-sided conversation. To point out the flaws that I had, there were a lot of them, and how I better get my act together if I was ever going to amount to anything. And when I look back over my life, I don't think there was a greater turning point really anywhere in it than that 40 minutes I spent with Dr. Harv. I'm a little disappointed that I couldn't talk a little more in depth about dress codes, but Charlie's right. You know, I got deaned with the eraser and told that my t-shirt wasn't going to be good enough anymore. But those were all fun things and they make good stories. What I really remember are those fall days when it's about 30 degrees in the morning, the sky is clear, blue, lots of color in the trees. And I was told at one point in my military career that generals never walk anywhere. Generals stride. And there was nothing more picturesque to me than watching General Fraser stride about the campus. Cold enough that his breath would be steaming up in the air. But as Harvey mentioned, he called just about everybody out there by name, or if he didn't know them, he made one up. You know, and the glass was just about always half full. You couldn't come away from a conversation with the guy that you didn't feel really, really good, even when you're getting your butt wrecked like I was. I mean, you still felt good about it. It was a good thing. And so for all of us that were fortunate to have crossed paths with him somewhere along the line, I think it was just an experience that each and every one of us thank our lucky stars that we had that opportunity. And now, to see us finally be able to recognize here on campus through what we're doing today with the naming and the display case and that, I would really like to think that Gene and Harvey are looking down and feeling very proud of everybody. So, well, I forgot it. You grab my... Maybe you'll all join with me for just a minute and think about the guy that we're all very proud of. Mine doesn't fit very well anymore, but we're going to try it on anyway and say, Harvey, this one's for you.
A little bit taller. I don't see Larry around here right now. Is he back there in the corner? We ready to go, Larry? I think what we got next is a nice little procession out around the front of the athletic offices. When you get to see the double doors going into the gymnasium, take a left, and then take another left when you get to the end of the hallway. We'll all kind of get nice and cozy, get elbow to elbow, and we'll take the drapery off the memorabilia, and then we'll take a little tour of the gymnasium and the wellness center upstairs. Thank you very much for coming, and let's head out there right now.